Some of the websites that might help you find options in Montreal would be Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, specific Facebook groups for McGill students for student housing, or like she said, for roommate matching. There's also Zumper, rentals.ca, and places for students. In Montreal, probably websites like Kijiji and Facebook specifically, or either Marketplace or the groups that we mentioned, are probably more popular than others. So I'd recommend going through those. Now, when you're on those websites, you have to look at the ads very specifically. A good ad on any of these websites should have a nice cohesive photos that seem like they're truly from the same apartment. You don't want to get scammed. You don't want to end up not liking where you're going to be living. It should have approximately where it's located, the number of rooms, bathrooms, and how much the rent is. All these things are going to be very important when you're looking at the apartment, but having a good ad is where it starts. So I'm going to start off with how to tour the apartment once you pick out the places you would want to kind of go and visit. The first thing you should always remember is to ask a lot of questions. It can be intimidating going to an apartment viewing for the first time. Some of the really important questions to ask, if they're not super clear in the ad already, are things like what's included in the rent. It could be utilities, furniture, appliances. All those things are very necessary for you to know to make your budget. So that's things that you will need to know beforehand. If, for example, hydro isn't included, how much should you expect it to be? That's an additional charge you'll have to pay every month. So it should either be included in the rent, or if not, you should know how much you should be expected to pay. Tara's going to be posting a link on the Hydro-Quebec website where you can kind of gauge a fictitious amount of how much you might be able to pay at that location. You'll also want to ask who the managers of the buildings are and who's taking care of any maintenance work. If anything goes wrong or you need more information about your place, there should be someone you can go to. Finally, make sure you understand how rent payments work. Some landlords still do post-dated checks. I personally don't own any checks. I don't use checks anymore. So if you're in that case too, you might not want to pay with a check. You can also have the option of pre-authorized debits. And some companies use softwares like Buildium to collect rent monthly automatically. Some other questions you'd be better off knowing are things like where the common areas are, like laundry, parking, bike parking, or other common areas, and have them show you around all the building, not just your apartment. You'll want to check out how much laundry is, how much parking costs, and if there's enough space for the people who live in the building. Next, you want to make sure if the apartment works for you. When you're looking at the apartment, try to imagine what it would be like to live there. You'll be spending at least 8 months there. You want to make sure that you're comfortable living in that space and you'll actually like it. Some of the things to ask yourself when you're viewing the apartment is things like, is the kitchen big enough for me and my roommates? Is there a storage space for the things that I'm going to be bringing? Do they have any common areas in the building I can use? And the biggest question is, are you going to be happy living there? Is there enough sunlight for you? Is there enough anything, Got to make sure you're going to be okay with this apartment, with the size and the space you have. Finally, with COVID and other safety concerns about entering apartments right now, it's becoming so much more common to have virtual showings instead of in-person showings. Now, virtual showings are totally legit, but you should definitely take the extra precautions when you're seeing the unit when you're not seeing the unit in person. Some of the few tips I have in mind when viewing virtually would be to always talk to someone on the phone, whether it's by video or just by phone call, at least once. Have someone, a real person that you're going to be talking to the whole time, and have proof for yourself. After that, do some background search on them. You can look up the company on social media, their website. You can find the agent you're talking to on LinkedIn, maybe. All those things give you more peace of mind that way. If possible, the agent that you're going to be talking to, make them take you on a live tour. So if you can't go into the apartment, make them go into the apartment and make them walk you through the unit. This will let you pause in each room, ask questions about the space, and check it out in much more detail. Make sure you also understand the layout of the unit you're looking at. You can usually ask for floor plans or just kind of an idea of where each building, each room would be in the apartment. So one of the examples I have for you on the screen that Tara's going to put up is one of our virtual tours at Mildore. It shows you what the apartment should be looking like and gives you an idea of the space and the layout, see? So now you can tell exactly around how big it's going to be and how it's going to look. So you should always keep in mind all these things when you're touring the apartments. The final thing you should definitely look at is learning about safety and security of the building. This is a very important factor that I'm sure a lot of people kind of miss sometimes. There are a few safety features you'll want to ask about to make sure your building is secure and safe for you. So things like, do they have access controls in the front doors, like an intercom system or a locked front door? Having a locked front entrance puts another layer of security between anyone that's coming into the door, so you always know who it is. With all the deliveries we're getting, I'm getting a lot of packages these days. You'll want to make sure there's no strangers coming in and out of the building whenever they want. Next thing you should really wonder is, do they have security cameras, either in the hallways, in the entrances? Figure that out and figure out where they are so you can keep that peace of mind. Another thing would be fire safety in the apartments. If ever there's a fire or anything like that, fire drill, there should be a fire escape or a fire stairwell in all buildings in case of emergencies. And you should also check out your own fire alarms in the apartment you're looking at. Test them out, make sure they're there, make sure there's batteries in them. And then finally, check out who's responsible in case of these emergencies and how would you get in touch with them. All these things are super important when looking for an apartment. Again, your peace of mind after signing your lease should definitely be a priority.